Nation. The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
Welcome to another stocked and loaded episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important hobby news, discussions, debates, opinions, info, and interviews with key hobby and sports dignitaries. Also, if you're good, you know we are going to give away something. Now, here's the guy that wanted the cards more than the gum. John Newman.
Here's Johnny.
What is up? Episode 91 of the Sports Card Nation podcast, where the hobby is the people. Glad to be back, and man, what a crazy week in the hobby. Lots of big news stories, from the Mike Trout to PSA blocking people still, and just a crazy week, and we sort of have a crazy show for you. We'll be talking obviously about those topics for sure, and our guest this week will be the first ever guest where the person's true identity will not be revealed. This gentleman is very, very big on the Instagram side of social media in the hobby, and not just there. He's very talented. You may not know his name, but that doesn't mean he's not very talented. Truth be told, I know who he really is, but I've been sworn to secrecy. Kind of odd to say that, but it's true. And he hails from my hometown of Brooklyn, New York. Happy to say that. His alter ego is the Card Killer. That's with a K. K-A-R-D, space killer. If you search that on Instagram, you'll see kind of what he's known for. Does this thing called the Griffey Challenge. Check that out, where he's, like it or not, he's cutting the population down of the 89 Upper Deck Griffies. We're obviously going to talk about that for sure. He also does custom cards, and incredible work. That I don't care, like them or not liking them, the work speaks for itself. And he just did a commission of Pat Tillman that half of the funds raised went to the Wounded Warrior Project. And so philanthropic, regardless of what you think personally, or because he doesn't say who he really is. If you don't like that, it doesn't matter. He's still doing good things and good deeds. I've gotten to know him a little bit, and I wanted to have him on the show and highlight. One thing with the show, as I hope you know by now, is if someone's doing philanthropic efforts and doing good things and is a hobby mover, a shaker, and that sort of thing, definitely like to have him on the show. And Card Killer does that, despite what his name might entail otherwise or make you think otherwise. And so, great conversation with him. And again, I think you'll find it probably one of my most unique and interesting interviews we've ever done on this program. And the first time we ever had someone on where their real name is not going to be disclosed, if you will. And it doesn't matter because what he's doing speaks more than his name. So, I think you'll find that whole conversation interesting. Stick around for that. Again, crazy news in the hobby with auctions closing and, retail shelves being emptied, and PSA, doing their best Dikembe Mutombo impressions and blocking anything that comes in their wheelhouse, it seems like. So, real heavy news cycle, great guest, episode 91. Let's start it right away. Time for this week's
Incoming!
product releases. All right, let's talk about what's hitting the streets and going live. Product out this week. the last day of August, the 31st, 2020, Leaf Superlative Sports. As September starts on the 2nd, we have a flurry of releases. These are all September 2nd. 2020 Topps Gold Label Baseball. 2020 Upper Deck Marvel Masterpieces. 2020 Historic Autographs Half Century Originals Baseball. 2020 Panini Donruss Football. 2020 Topps Stadium Club Baseball. 2020 Panini Immaculate Collegiate Football. And on the 4th, we have 2020 Leaf Valiant Football. And that rounds out this week's premium non-sports and sports releases. Hey folks, tired of going to the retail store and finding the wax shelves cleaned out bare? I've got the answer for you, and that answer is Hotbox Cards. They offer a monthly subscription service at a great price level. What's better than getting a box of sports cards on your doorstep every month? Not a whole lot, and these boxes don't cost a whole lot. Let me tell you what's in each and every hot box. 3 relic or auto cards, 3 unopened hobby packs, 50 bonus cards featuring stars, rookies, semi-stars, inserts, and parallels. And 1 in every 5 boxes has a red-hot envelope with a surprise card. They also honor expired redemptions with a comparable item, so there's no worry about getting that old redemption card with nothing to show for it. Check them out at www.hotboxcards.net and put in promo code SCNation. SCNation all in caps to save even a little bit more money. It's time for What's Cracking. Let's talk about the big news of the week, and that's the Mike Trout 101 Bowman Chrome Auto Vegas Dave Superfractor is historic. You know, we were talking about it getting maybe $3 million, an outside chance. We even discussed whether it would pass $2 million. Well, it crushed $3 million. It got $3.84 million. Vegas Dave has the last laugh. Golden Auctions had a pretty good week. Also in that same auction, Fernando Tatis Jr. Red Bowman Chrome BGS 9.5 Auto brought $217,000. Crazy. And all totaled, the Golden Auctions this week racked up $14 million in auction sales. Obviously, not all that was their stuff. They'll get their commission, but quite a week for Golden Auctions. Speaking of Golden Auctions, Ken Golden, the CEO and proprietor of such auction house, is scheduled to be our guest on episode 92. I'm not going to ask him for a loan, but we definitely are going to talk about the week that was, his career, and everything else. So should be a fun episode to say the least. Well, that's your high of the week. Your low of the week belongs to Greg Lindberg of Eli Global, the founder and chairman of Eli Global. The name may not mean much to you, but Eli Global is the parent company or the owner of Beckett Media, and Mr. Lindberg was sentenced to 87 months in prison in a government bribery screen. He was one of 4 defendants. He was convicted. He is going to appeal his case. Don't see that really affecting the hobby as much. I don't know how much involved he was in the daily operations of Beckett, so I think it's full steam ahead for them. Topps X has a new collaborator for another player designed and issued set, none other than the polar bear himself, Pete Alonso. It is going to retail for $60, which I believe is upping the ante price-wise. But 1 out of every 2 sets or boxes, if you will have a auto sticker in it with Pete signing some of those as well, along with some of this year's rookies class. And it's going to have a New York City graffiti art feel to it, sort of what you would see on the subway cars. The NFL Hall of Fame and Panini America have renewed their licensing agreement, and Panini will have rights to Hall of Fame NFL production for another 5 years. It's been a decent amount of time relationship, and they've just extended that another 5 years. If you are listening to this show on release date, which is Friday the 28th, give you a heads up. I'm not sure what time, but the Ben Baller Topps Chrome Baseball release will be offered on the Topps website today. So if you're listening to this morning, when this show has been freshly released, you still have time to get the Ben Baller Chrome edition Topps Baseball if you're so fortunate. And I'm not sure, I believe it's going to be exclusive to the Montgomery Club. Thankfully, I'm a member, and so I'll be trying to get my 2 boxes for sure. Or I'm not sure how many they're limited, but I'm going to make the 2-box assumption. And as I do every so often, I try to interject some personal hobby stories involving myself. A few weeks back, or maybe a little bit longer, I mentioned that I was facilitating a grading submission of 2 1947 Jackie Robinson Bond Bread cards. The scarce release back, obviously, in 1947, issued with bread and handed out by the Bond Bread Company. And a local person here basically looked me up. We are Google certified on Google. So if you type Syracuse sports cards, I'll probably be the first one that pops up, being Google certified. And this person found me, reached out to me. And obviously I'm a huge Jackie Robinson guy. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but if I was a lowlife, I probably could have scammed this person out of 2 incredible pieces of history, but that's not how I roll, if you know me. So she knew that they might be worth something. They were left to her by her mother. She sent me pictures via text. They appear to be in very decent shape, at least via camera photos, for how that goes. But and I said, I can help. I definitely told her she should get these things graded. Obviously she's not familiar with the card hobby, so that was all Greek to her and foreign to her. And I facilitated her getting those cards to SGC for grading. So they're on their way to the SGC warehouse in Boca Raton, where they'll be slabbed and given a grade. Again, based on the pictures, I think they should do okay, but again, you don't know. But regardless of what these things grade, even if they were to grade on the low end of scale, these are pretty decent items that on the secondary market are going to bring a fine penny. So she's going to do very well. I know she said she would take care of me, but that's not why I'm doing that. I just when she called me and told me and sent me the pictures, I told her what she had, and I didn't want her to get taken advantage by someone else. And I believe I'm a karma guy. I've always believed in it, and so I'm going to do number one, the right thing, and hopefully, it was left to her from her passed away mother, and hopefully it's going to help her out in current times, and we'll see what they grade out. Maybe I might be able to own one of those. I don't know. I don't anticipate that, but we'll see. Let's, like I told her, let's get those graded for you first. See what they grade out. Get sort of a ballpark figure of what that version of that card graded tends to bring, and then we can go from there. Obviously, if it's way out of my price range, and that's all possible, then it is what it is. We'll get those cards sold for her, and be a good hobbyist and look out for your fellow hobbyists. So I'll keep you in the loop when those cards do get graded, and she knows what they grade out. I'll kind of continue the story and fill in the blanks as that goes along.
We love our listeners. Without you, there is no us. We care about your opinions and feedback and invite you to reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. On Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast, Twitter at SportsCardNati1, or email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We don't ask for much, but if you really like the show, give us a shout out. Tell your friends or give us a follow on our social medias. If you enjoy the show, please give us a positive review on iTunes or any of the platforms you are listening on. Thank you.
I know the chunky that left these chunkies. Newman! Open the door, Newman. I know you're in there.
Hello, Jerry. All right, it's time for Newman's Rambling, where I select one question I get each week and answer it on the air.
John, you seem like an astute man.
Thank you, Mr. Walken.
Maybe you can help explain something to me.
Well, I'll give it my best shot. So this week's question is a question I got asked a couple times this week. So I figured it's a great candidate to just say in this segment or ask in this segment. Basically, I mentioned with July just being a tremendous month in sales, incredible, quite frankly. August has been okay to good, nowhere near July, at least for me. Hopefully, maybe you're in a better August than me. I'm not complaining after that July, but August is about sort of back to normal, if you will, where July was an anomaly, at least as far as I was concerned. And I had mentioned that on numerous shows I was on or guest on. And so I had a few people ask me, because they heard me say to sell at peak or at ceiling levels. And so people ask me, well, John, how do you know you're at peak or you're at ceiling? And so you may not like my answer. It's not very specific. There's no magic pill here or magic answer. It's just sort of a feeling, a gut instinct. So, I know there's charts and analytics and all that. Don't get me going on those. And, I've operated 30-something years in sales on more feel than any kind of chart or demographic. I mean, the closest chart or demographic I've used are eBay comps and past sold auctions, and that's about it. And someone might say, "Oh man, there's so much more info." Sometimes you get oversaturated with all that stuff. Sometimes it's just being a fan. I'm a sports fan. I don't need a chart to say this person had a good game or that's the peak. And here's the other thing. I mentioned this prior, Luis Roberts stuff. I have a lot of his stuff. I mean, a lot. And he's actually doing fairly well. But I'm not going to really sell him yet. He's so young. And, he's going to, barring injury, I don't want to jinx the guy. He's going to have some probably incredible years in the big leagues. And, I'm going to let a lot of my inventory of his, the term I use is marinate, to grow, to, become more expensive, if you will, for a lack of a better way to say it. And I don't need charts and analytics to know that. I've just done this long enough. And, sure, I can make some money and sell them now. And, if you've sold some Luka Doncic's recently, or even this week, you definitely made some money. And I guess at the end of the day, too, if we're talking about selling, you're successful if you sell an item for more than you paid. And someone could say, well, John, you're going to hold your Roberts and let them hopefully, get more money for you. Isn't that being greedy when you could sell them now and make a profit even now? Because you didn't pay as much as you can get now for them. It's a fair point, but it's my cards, right? I can sell them when I want to, and you can sell yours this week where instead of holding on to them like I do. And you got to remember, I just have so much stuff, and I do enough sales where I can do that with a player, or a certain card. I don't have to sell. I don't have an overhead. I don't have a card bill to pay per se. You know what I mean? In my card store days, I did. So I would sell some stuff, that maybe today's day and age I would just stack and put in a case, and forget about them or add to them. I've got a few cards like that where I have a lot of a particular card. I've got 600 Hunter Green first Bowmans. I've got, I think 400 first Bowman Tristan McKenzie's. I've got 200, I think, Jordan Alvarez 2020 Top Series 1. And I got a lot of Robert stuff, just all sorts of different stuff, colors and all, rookies and whatnot. And Montgomery stuff, which I really like of his, that maybe long-term potential. So, when's the right time to sell? It's just a feel. It's just a feel. I guess the cop-out answer is when you can make money on it, you don't lose. I mean, if you buy something for $10 and you sell it for $80, or you buy something for $100 and you sell it for $1,200, that wasn't the wrong time to sell. But, sometimes I might not sell those particular cards because I feel, I don't know, be careful when someone says I know. You keep hearing I know from someone. I know, I did the numbers, I did the charts. That's a telltale sign. Run. One word, run. When you hear I know, no one knows. No one knows. Okay? Whether you've been in the hobby for 3 years or 37, you don't know. You might have an educated guess based on experience, but no, there is no sure thing. Luka Doncic, God forbid, could go out tomorrow and blow out his knee, and that's the end, right? And so, the side of the road is littered with guys who, had injuries and never played a full career. The Greg Odens and whatnot. I'm not comparing Luka Doncic to Greg Oden, not even close. But that, that's always a risk. And, even, I mentioned how I'm holding these Luis Robert cards, because I think long term they'll be worth even more. Again, just like I said with Luka, Luis Robert could crash into the wall, get a concussion or crack his skull, God forbid, have blurry vision for the rest of his life, and his baseball career could be over. All right, probably slim chance, but you just don't know. And me holding it to try to get a little more juice out of the deal could backfire too. So whenever you hear I know, they don't know. Get out of there. Run. Turn it off. Okay? The only thing they know are facts. These are all opinions and speculation. I know I was born in 1972. I know that. Okay? But that's a fact. I only know facts. Everything else is opinion and speculation. And so when someone keeps spewing opinion and speculation as facts, that's a telltale sign to run the other way. So When is the right time? It's up to the individual. I know it's a cop-out answer. It's feel. It's gut instinct. Sometimes that gut instinct is right. Sometimes it can backfire. So I really can't tell you when. It's just when you decide that's enough profit for you. You know what you have into the card. You know what the market is bearing right now, and you pull that trigger and make the transaction, right? And in reverse too, same thing with buying. I'm gonna buy this at this level because I think it's gonna go to this level, if not right away, eventually, and I'm willing to bide my time. And so a lot of what we do, if you're a seller in the hobby, is feel, just general feel. Charts, analytics, algorithms, the bat computer that Batman used with Alfred, all that stuff it's not witch doctory. That's not fair to say. But it's you can use it as you want. But to me, I'm the old-fashioned guy, or some people would say the old guy on the porch. But it's worked for me for 37 years. And let me put it this way: I've sold more than I've spent at the end of today. In the hobby, and I can't complain. And that's including some really bad years where I spent a lot more than I made. There was a good 3, 4, 5 years where I was in the red, considerably. And so, but overall the body of work is very good. And so I know that's maybe not the specific answer, but it's just do what you think is the right time when to sell. There's no textbook. It's all speculation. It's all opinion. There is no formula. You can't put in the question into the bat computer and that little ticker tape comes out with the answer. That was a TV show, not reality. And same thing in the card world. So, there you go. That's, do what you think is best. You know what you got into the card, and you know what the market's bearing. You ultimately, it's your inventory, it's your product, it's your card. You have to determine when is the time to make that call. All right, real excited to have my next guest on the One-on-One Card Shop guest line. Probably going to be a unique scenario. This is going to be the first time I'm going to have a guest where we're not going to give this gentleman's real name out. We'll delve into why and all that during the interview itself, but that does not make him any less talented. He's very talented. He's from my home area, or I should say my hometown of Brooklyn, New York. So, near and dear to my heart there as well. We're going to introduce him by his alter ego. He's big on Instagram, he'll give out all that stuff at the end of the interview. But without further ado, I want to welcome Card Killer to the Sports Card Nation podcast.
Thanks for having me on the show, John. It's an honor.
Yep. So I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of noticed you when you first started what you're doing as far as the Card Killer side. I'd be remiss not to mention that recently I found out, and again, I'm not going to give that information out out of respect to you, but you're a musician, an artist, and very talented, as I said. When, before we get into the Card Killer stuff, when did you know you had a talent on the art side of things?
Well, I basically, I started singing when I was like 2 years old. And
wow.
I don't really remember it so much, but my parents have home videos of it. So I see, I was always grabbing the mic and singing. So that was just something I always did. I picked up a pencil at 4. And, I never really let it go. It was just, it's just kind of a thing that, I was never really told that it was a cool thing to do, or I was pushed to do it. You just do it. So like you kind of knew that it was in your blood early, and then once you start grade school, then the teachers start noticing it, and then they provide you enrichment activities geared towards that. So after a few years, it was like kind of just getting involved in the arts in the school, and then going to art school, and it was just natural. It's just something I do every day. So you kind of know before you know.
Yeah,
is kind of the thing.
It's sort of in your blood, so to speak.
Yeah, I never really, I was never really told, to do it. You just do it, and because it feels right.
Yeah.
And then then you deal with decades of process, and then you end up where you end up.
Well, I mean, again, multi-talented across different levels, like you said, musically, artistically. A lot of people, I can't say that, that's for sure, and a lot of other people can't as well. I know it's the standard boring podcast, especially hobby podcast question, but your card history, how'd you get into cards? Where did it all start as far as the sports cards go?
I grew up in Brooklyn, and we have, I had a neighborhood that was filled. I mean, kids were on the street every day playing wiffle ball, playing, a game called Kings. We played a lot of that. It's like it's called Chinese handball. Yeah. So it's like handball, but you play it with a very, very small court. Yeah. So we hung out and we played, and then we started getting into Little League. So me and my friends, we would all, practice, and then we would start collecting cards. So we started collecting cards when we were like 9, 10 years old. Yeah. And the whole neighborhood did. I mean, and so it was fun. It was a way to, hang out with your friends and trade at night, and then play ball during the day. And then on the weekends, we go to shows, and there were shows all over the place at that time, because that was, it started around 89, I guess. Obviously, Upper Deck came out, and hobby was exploding at that time too, and became known as the junk era, which I don't know, that word, we got to find a way to erase that word.
Yeah, a lot of people, I'm guilty of saying it too, but yeah, it's definitely doesn't have a positive connotation to it. You're right.
Yeah, it's certainly not junk to me, because that was my childhood. Every time I see those cards, I you reminisce and you think back. Yeah. So I did that for plenty of years up until about high school. You know what that does to cards. Yeah. And then you kind of pick it back up when you get older, just to go back and remember, for nostalgic reasons. Yeah. Then you realize how far the industry came in those years, where the technology on the cards were nicer and prettier and shinier, and the autos were introduced back in 2000 or so. And I started collecting a little bit again. I PC Ken Griffey Jr. when I was a kid. Yeah. So always just buying his cards for a PC, and then they slowly started working into my art process, because I couldn't paint. You can't paint a refractor effect. Yeah. So I was like, let me just cut them out of the cards and get them into my art, so that at the time my process was that the paintings were kind of moving without actually moving parts. Yeah. So it just played along that line, and then it keeps developing and then about a year and a half ago I put a mask on and I started cutting them up for Instagram. Yeah. Just to, for shock value at first, and then you start to realize that people are starting to get like really curious about like what I'm doing. So I just decided to have a little fun with it, and then it kind of just took off from there, because people were like, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? And it got fun, and people started to love to hate it or whatever, and you get some negativity a little bit here and there, but mostly it was just positive, because everybody was having fun. And then it's like, the light bulb goes off in your head, and it's like, well, how much fun can we have now? Yeah. Yeah. And then I seriously started putting the pieces from the paintings and actually putting them back into the cards. You start to realize your audience has been there the whole time, Yeah. And it's been an awesome and fun process. Where I am now it's so much fun, because I have so many people that want to be involved as well. And that was another one of my goals, is to influence other people to start messing with cards in a way to make them more interesting or to add a story, you know?
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Griffey was someone you PC. Do you still do that? Are you buy it? Will you buy like Griffey's and they just go in your personal collection or not?
In waves. Yeah, no, in waves. I mean, I got about 1,000 of them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I accumulated a huge box. I sold half of them on eBay one day when I was in my 20s, which I regret. But slowly but surely. I mean, I had an 89 Bowman Tiffany PSA 10, and I bought that maybe 10 years ago, and I sat on it for about 5 years, and then I sold it, and I got a nice return on it, and then I look at eBay last week, sold one for over $7,000, so I'm like kicking myself for that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, you could do that with a lot of cards. I've learned, I'm old, so I've learned by trial and error too. Like, you can't always do that, and there's a lot of times, it works the other way where you sell something and then it's not as high value. So I think it all evens out sometimes in the end. You're a New York City guy like myself. Obviously, I'm assuming Griffey, that was the heyday. I mean, it's hard not to like a guy that like Griffey did it the right way, the way he played, with all the steroid questions. His name was never mentioned, and the numbers he put up were obviously incredible. He's a Hall of Famer. Was that, is there any New York City players, whatever sport, that sort of give Griffey sort of a run for his money with you? Do you have an affiliate?
Well, I always liked Piazza when he played for the Mets.
Yeah,
he was a great player for the Mets and actually for the sport at the time.
Yeah,
he had a little bit of celebrity in him, but he was a slugger. I loved him. I liked, I was a kid when the '86 Mets won.
Yeah,
and you got Gooden and Strawberry on the team. So those guys, and Franco, I love. I actually met John Franco once. He's a really nice guy.
I don't want to get off on a tangent. I might have even told a story in the show. I actually got to take batting practice off John Franco, but that's a story, a little longer story, and this is your interview. But I'll share that another day. He's a good guy. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. But he was my favorite Met growing up.
Yeah,
was Franco. He just seemed like an all around nice guy. And then when I got to meet him, he proved it, because he was really cool about it, and I was like, "Yo, you're my favorite Met." And I met him in a store, and he was purchasing things. So
yeah,
it was fun. Cool. So we talked a little bit, and he was really, really nice and personable about it.
Yeah, really down to earth guy, and I'll tell you about it when we're not on the air and fill in those blanks. So. I always ask that, when someone's from New York, is who are those guys for them. For me, I know you listen to the show, you probably know Jackie Robinson's my guy, even though he was gone before I was even born. Just being from Brooklyn, and my dad lived at Ebbets Field back in the day, and just hearing the stories, learning about what he meant, not only to the sport, but even off the field, even more so. And especially in today's day and age. And as a kid in Brooklyn, every book, report, or essay was Jackie Robinson, to the point teachers were like, pick someone else, John. We know what you're thinking, And then I always just went to like Roy Campanella or another Brooklyn Dodger. So I always ask, because to me that's important stuff that kind of makes us who we are, at least in the hobby wise. And so I was interested. Piazza, being a Mets guy myself, definitely can't argue with there. You think about Gooden and Strawberry and what could have been had they, stayed clean and out of trouble. And still, when you look at their numbers, still some fantastic numbers, but could have been so much more. That's the first thing, that comes to my mind with those two players. But great to hear you, talk about them. So let me, when I first noticed you, and, you do the thing called the Griffey Challenge, and you artistically destroyed, the 89 Upper Deck Griffey. I'm an honest guy, so when I first saw that, I wasn't happy about it. Like I got the premise. I don't want I got the premise, but I'm like, oh man, that's a Griffey rookie. Like I got the premise that there is a ton of them, and you're cutting the population down, and I don't know if you saw the film Jack of All Trades by Stu Stone. I mean, in a sense, at the end of that movie, they have a bonfire basically, and they're putting all those junk wax era cards into the fire to destroy them and cut some of them down. So I get it. And so when I first saw it, this is full disclosure, I said, man, this is just a person, like you said, shock value, just wants to get attention, wants to be bigger than the card. And so I wasn't a fan at that stage. And then as I kept, I'm not gonna lie, you keep watching and you sort of progressed, or what you were really about came more to light. And you obviously, if anyone sees your Instagram stuff, you do stuff even with movie scenes. It's very artistic. I mean, it's not something someone can do in 10 minutes and do it. You're putting work into it, and it comes out good, and it's funny. It's interesting, and so my opinion changed from that initial reaction. And it's funny. I know I spoke to you before we came on the air. My son had the same pretty much reaction. When I first introduced him and showed him, he thought like I did. And I said, no, look at, I didn't stand there. I said, check his stuff out. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And the next day, I said, what? He goes, no, I changed my opinion. He's brilliant, and it's cool. And so I guess my first question, Card Killer, is when you first did that Griffey thing, how much feedback you got, negative and positive? What kind of things did you get initially anyway?
It was a mixed bag. I mean,
Yeah.
At first, I put a post saying that I think I'm going to get myself into a little bit of trouble. And, but like the premise of that, and the premise of the whole thing is that like what I wanted to do is set a stage.
Yeah.
So I wanted people to come and look at like how absurd it is to destroy cards, because the normal opinion is that they're to be treasured, and the better condition they are, the more they're worth. So I'm just trying to push the boundaries of that and trying to get people to think differently. So in the beginning, destroying the cards, I was just shoving that in people's faces to kind of get them to talk about it.
Yeah.
And them thinking of me in a negative way is inconsequential to me. Like, it doesn't bother me because I set the stage that way.
Yeah.
And for people to not like me in the beginning, it was completely done on purpose so that I can spend time changing their minds. The Griffey Challenge was one of the steps where I said, I'm destroying it and sacrificing it for something that's ultimately positive, because I want that card to have another story, another legacy attached to it.
Yeah.
And really, they did overproduce them. So I was like, you know what? It's like, I couldn't do. It's not like I could buy 100,000 of them and burn them.
Yeah.
But I could set up a challenge to where, like, if you got like a PSA 5 that you can't even sell for $40, you can contribute to that challenge and continue the story and grow that card's legacy in that sense. So that was kind of like the first step, and it's obviously moved to another page now. I have started up with another card guy over in San Francisco, and he's on Instagram too, at Donnie B Collectibles.
Yep.
Me and him, we set up a page dedicated to the artwork surrounding that card specifically. And I haven't put the Griffey Challenge on there yet, but right now we're asking other artists to contribute by either painting on the card or putting their art on that card in some way. And then, we'll share it on that platform, and that's at the Griffey Legacy Project.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's funny here. A couple of things I want to say, piggybacking off that, is, you make a great point. If a PSA 5 Griffey rookie, like you said, let's be real, not in demand, probably not sellable. Someone might give it to someone, hey, it's not great shape, here's a Griffey rookie. If that card was in the QC process in today's day and age, that card would be ripped off the line or pulled aside and recycled or destroyed. So it's when you look at it like that, it's not as mind-blowing or as shock value as you initially think. And like you said, you take a lesser condition one out of circulation. We're going to step aside for a quick break, but we'll be back with more with the Card Killer. One of One Card Shop offers a tremendous breaking experience, great customer service, and they're constantly pulling fire. Steve and his family take care of you like one of their own and treat you right. Anyone can break, but no one treats you like One of One. Come check them out on Instagram at one_of_one_card_shop. For all the hot breaks, get a gold mailer headed your way. Sports Card Nation is back with more from the Card Killer. I don't know if you follow the Topps 2020 project at all. The Griffey Shore, Keith Shore's Griffey. Speaking of Griffey, I mean, that's funny that it's him too. Sold 99,000 copies, a lot. And so it's obviously sold by Topps from their site at $20, but you can buy them anywhere from $5 to $10 because there's just so many of them. And so what people have even done with that card is maybe you could even take some credit for this, if you will, is they're doing different things with that card, painting over it, changing the player, or doing some added features to the Griffey itself, and that's kind of made the rounds on social media as well. So it's funny. I wonder if the actual Ken Griffey Jr. has picked up on any of this, or has anyone got his attention to say, hey, you see what's happening with your rookie card and the 2020 art card? Be interesting. So, but hearing you explain it that way, it makes a lot more sense. I hope that's the thing is when I first saw it, like I said, it rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, but I didn't jump ship. I kind of hung on, and I think people who did that saw really what was going on, and how much I know you said you got a mixed bag of feedback. How much vitriol did some people give? Were some people like pretty rude or threatening, or that sort of? Not really. I think they were just kind of curious more than anything. If you look at the comments, I don't delete any comments. Yeah. Because I don't look at any like negative comments as negativity. I actually look at it as something to absorb and figure out if I'm doing something right or wrong. It's more like a lesson. People were saying, or shake my head, or I not this card, blah, blah, blah. And, but it's just the message I was trying to send was a positivity. People start, and sometimes you can't win them all. Yeah. And that's okay. And, I like the fact that the response is dynamic, because if everybody really loved it, then it's like, then I'm not, stirring the pot enough. Yeah. And that's the way I think about my art. There's always, somewhere where I can poke a little fun at this, poke a little fun at that without, being disrespectful. And have people react from that and then get involved. And, that's what I'm doing now is trying to get other people involved to do it. And it's working out pretty good because there's a lot of sports, a lot of art and sports cards this year. Yeah. So it's really you start a flame or whatever, and it takes on a life of its own. Yeah. And then I'm interested in keeping everybody together and forming a community out of it. Yeah. And so, I think I think go ahead. No, I was done. Yeah. And I think you've done a good job, and that's kind of where I'm leaning to. But before I go even there, if you've seen what I don't know, I'm assuming you follow it closely. I mean, PSA 9s and obviously 10 Upper Deck Griffey rookies have gone through the ceiling, and it just a lot. It's not just Griffey, but specifically, we're talking about him on this show, but. I don't know if you've noticed that. Maybe because there's maybe less of them. Maybe it's just because, there's just a less a lot less 9s and higher, a lot of 8s and lower. But maybe you could take a little bit of credit for some of that boom with the 9 and 10 Griffies, just because they're less Griffies in general. I don't know, but
it could be a coincidence. I mean, it also could be just that the industry has taken a big jump in the last year or two.
Yeah.
But it could be indirect. It could just be like the ideas bouncing around that Griffies are now being the population's being lowered, and everybody who has a 9 or 10 wants to jump on the market and get the prices going. So yeah, it could just be like word of mouth bouncing around. The result is just the price ends up going up.
Someone can see the video you produce and the Griffey challenge and say, hey, there's less of these. And so I want to go out and spend a little money and get a PSA 9 and PSA 10. I think it's going to trend upward. And so, like you said, indirectly, you may have influenced someone to buy a 9 or 10 Griffey Upper Deck rookie potentially. And we all know, if you've been in this hobby long enough, that's what sets, supply and demand sets the price. Sure. And so,
and I am nowhere near done. So I continue to fight the good fight.
Yeah, well, I have a couple, so go knock yourself out, as they say. But and you said something else, about community. The tagline of this show, "The hobby's the people," so that's near and dear to my heart. And the thing I love is you've kind of went into a philanthropic. You just did a Pat Tillman rework that you sold for charity that went to the Wounded Warrior Project. And so you've kind of morphed into, and again, that might have been, only you can answer, that might have been the plan from the get-go. I don't know, but I'm a very philanthropic person. I give to different organizations that I feel strongly about, and so when I see that, especially in the hobby context, I love it. I love seeing that. I love doing it. And so, kudos to you. Kind of speak to that, Card Kill, where that came from and how it did and all that stuff.
It was always meant to be a part of the process.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do it with my art for a very long time, but you have to kind of wait till you have the ammunition.
Yeah.
So part of building what I was doing was always intended to get into work with charity. It's just the way I think about it. And I just started, a couple of months ago, being able to hold auctions and then raise money for different organizations and stuff like that. So, it's always been there. It's just that I had to figure out a way to do it correctly. And this platform actually does it because, the community is watching.
Yeah.
And then they get to see, the new thing that can be done with cards. I mean, I believe cards have been used for charities previously.
Yeah.
It's just, with me and my process, you find your own special way of doing it. And then you introduce that, and then you show people that cards can cross cultures.
Yeah.
And work with charities or different aspects of my art in that sense, obviously, because almost every post of mine tells a different story, whether it be philanthropic or just a fun adventure or something like that, but it was always intentional. So like, I'm going to keep doing that, obviously.
Yeah.
And maybe, hopefully one day get to work directly with these organizations instead of just a simple donation.
Yeah.
Because, the arts can be used in so many different ways, to raise money in that sense. And I'm all for that. It's like, because then I know I'm not wasting my time,
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels like you're doing something positive. And like I said, it was always my intention to eventually get people to see that and to fully realize what the Card Killer was always about.
And I commend you for doing that. Like I said, it's something that I pride myself on, and it's nice to see that. And the pieces you create, they're works of art, in a sense, like you say, they're one-on-ones. Like, that's your own creation. Someone else, even if they tried to do it, it's going to be different. And so, even specific to the Pat Tillman you just did, that's only one person's going to own it, and the Wounded Warrior Project is going to benefit as a direct result. It's a win-win. It's a win-win for the buyer. It's a win-win for Wounded Warrior, and so that's just tremendous on your part, and everyone involved in that, anyone that bid and all that. It's just a positive hobby story. We need those, and there's a great example of such.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a while to convince people that you cut up a card and then all of a sudden it's worth more. I mean, It sounds completely absurd. And a couple of years ago, even I would have been like, well, I don't think that's going to work. But people, the card collectors are natural art collectors, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you're buying a 2.5 by 3.5 piece of paper, and it may cost 10-15 cents to make.
Yeah.
And it's worth thousands of dollars. So they are pieces of art.
Yeah.
All on their own, every single one of them. But I'm just putting my own stamp on my interpretations of them. And they're one of a kind, and card collectors are feverish for that. And you find your audience pretty damn quickly because they have such a rabid nature for wanting it, and it's already built in. So it's kind of just, it was just staring me in the face. Yeah, all along. I was collecting since I was a kid, so I know all about it. Even yesterday, I was just scouring eBay, and I bought an impulse buy because I just loved the card always, and I picked up a Desert Shield Griffey.
Yep.
Love that card.
Yeah,
I've always loved it. And I was like, let me just take the plunge now, because God knows in a few years I probably couldn't even afford it.
Yeah. It's funny, back in my store days, I had a ton of those Desert Shield cards, and let's just put it like your story earlier. Let's just put it this way: I sold them a lot cheaper than they go for nowadays, and it's one of those things you don't know at that time. Hindsight's 2020. It'd be nice to have a crystal ball, but I don't. But that's a great card and a great set, and even sort of what it represents, that it went overseas to give those troops in tough situation a little levity and some enjoyment. And now, even years later, 29 years later, those cards are in demand still because of those reasons. And it's a great part of history. And I've always said on this show, to me, all cards are little, and you alluded to this too, Card Killer, all cards are little works of art. What you're doing, in a sense, is just enhancing or putting your own spin on it. Another quick break, but when we come back, more with the Card Killer. Pastime Marketplace offers a line of durable graded card cases made for collectors who want high-quality graded card storage that is virtually indestructible. Their cases are waterproof, dustproof, airtight, and designed to protect your valuable collection. Check them all out at www.pastimemarketplace.com. Protect your best with the best. And remember to save 15% off your order. Use the promo code SCN15. That's capital S, capital C, capital N, 15 for 15% off your total order at pastimemarketplace.com. We're back with Card Killer. And then, so my next question is, with the Topps, how much do you think the Topps 2020 project has helped you at all, or no difference? I mean, what do you think the impact of that project releasing this year done compared to what? Because obviously you were doing it before that project was released. Any trampoline effect from that? None. I mean, what say you?
Nothing particular that I really noticed, because I'm just kind of, I guess, marching to the beat of my own drum here. What it has done for the hobby, though, and what it's done for art is profound. I mean, because now people are understanding that art is a little bit being brought to the forefront of the hobby with this project. So, the attention is great, because it almost legitimizes that, you can put art into cards more. And they have, the set is going to be 400 large, and people, a lot of people just can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
So it's more like, bridging the gap and the perception of art in cards. When Topps put their stamps on it, puts their stamp on it, then it's done. It's like, you welcome it with open arms. And I was like, this is going to be awesome because there's going to be a roller coaster ride,
Yeah. Well,
and it's been happening. I mean, all these cards have their own story. Like you said, the Keith Shore card is one of the most looked at cards of the whole set, because it has, that print run, and it has a story, and it's fun because more and more people get to talk about it. And like you said, like, I get to be like, all right, so like this cross culture kind of thing is working out.
Yeah.
So I love watching and following it. I just got the Don C. Griffies in the mail the other day.
Yeah.
So I bought a bunch of those, and the other day I just purchased 10 Blake Jamieson Griffey rookies. I mean, the Griffies, because he does an awesome job at it. He did a great job.
Yeah. And that's I make a parallel between, people may not agree. I'll hear what your thought. I make a sort of parallel between that and kind of what you're doing. Topps has commissioned these artists to take 20 iconic rookie cards and says, hey, do what you pretty much want with them. Put your own interpretation, your own spin, use your own artistic talents, and remake the card. And I mean, to me, that's kind of what you're doing with your artistic cards. You're reimagining the card with your own talents, and maybe on a smaller scale. I mean, obviously they're commissioned by Topps, but I still see that parallel between the two. And so I think where I'm going with this is I think that Topps 2020 project, not that you, like you said, you beat to your own drum, you don't need anyone to sign off and say, okay, it's legit. But I think in a sense it does legitimize more even what you're doing. Not that you needed that, but I think it's done that to me.
Yeah, the attention just being brought to the hobby and that subgenre is incredible. And I just, you sit there and you look at it and you go, oh my God, now more people are going to notice.
Yeah.
And more people are going to see it. And that's basically what that has done. And all those artists too, they're working their asses off, and they're making, they have YouTube channels, and they're making like limited editions. So they're running with it too. And obviously it's supporting them. That's all good. Topps is letting them, do their thing with it. And, appreciate that.
Yeah.
See it,
Yep. Now going back to what you do, I'll have you give out all the URLs and websites and handles when we wrap this up. But I mean, very creative. You've incorporated movie scenes and you've done them on a smaller scale. I think they're great. I laugh. They're hilarious. You said like you sort of think ahead. Like, how far ahead do you know, like, hey, I'm going to do this, I got plans to do this, I want to do that. Like, how far ahead, without, you don't have to give anything away per se, but, how far in advance are you already know, hey, this is what I'm going to be tackling next?
Usually when I get the idea in my head, I cannot sit on it.
Yeah.
So I go after it right away. Like, that's why, like, when I had the movies in mind and everything, you take a couple of days to figure out how to build the sets and how to make it, and then you just execute it, and it's a blast the whole time. It's just so much fun doing them, and you're laughing at the absurdity of it the whole time, and then you put it out on the net, and then everybody gets to laugh with you.
Yeah.
So, like, it's almost instantaneous, because the second it's in my head, I have to execute it. So. And usually that's the way it works with the cards in general too. If I have the idea, I got to get to it now. I do have commissions, so I'm sitting on a pile of those.
Yeah.
So I do have, like, I am constantly working on someone's either paid idea or an idea of my own that I'm giving to someone. But yeah, it can't sit in my head too long, because then it can get complicated.
Yeah.
And the simplicity of it and the raw idea is always usually the best. So if I sit on it too long and it gets too muddied, then I kind of shelf it.
Yeah.
So I don't like doing that. So basically, it comes out almost as quick as I can think about it.
Nope, yep. And they say like your initial gut feeling or idea is probably the best one, and so that kind of plays right into that what you said. We're going to step aside for a fast break, but when we come back, when will Card Killer let the world know who he really is? Let me tell you about Iron Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're your number one source for all your PSA and now SGC submissions. They offer various service levels at the lowest prices around. They even provide the card savers your cards need to be submitted at no extra charge. Their elite status helps improve turnaround times, and their chat rooms keep you abreast of your subs and the status of your cards. What are you waiting for? Contact Rob on Facebook on Iron Sports Card Group. That's Iron Sports Card Group on Facebook. Or get a hold of Rob on Twitter at Iron Sports Cards. All one word, at Iron Sports Cards. They'll take care of you. Sports Card Nation is back. So obviously, Card Killer's your alter ego. We talked about future plans. Do you see a day where you reveal yourself and say, hey, everybody, this is me, this is Card Killer, but this is really who I am? And if so, when do you know that's the time to do it? Like, have you even thought that far ahead?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think about how I would do it. I would probably make it into a story to make it fun. But it's just kind of fun. The anonymity of it is kind of part of why I think it interests people. Yeah, because then the story's kind of
suspense.
A little suspense. And once I take the mask off, I know that everybody's gonna go, oh, okay, and then they're gonna move on. So I've thought about doing it eventually, but like I don't see the need for it at the moment.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like it's important enough. It's like really, who cares? So it's just like I'd rather just keep the mask on for now and have fun with people that way.
Yep.
And that's just the bottom line. I mean, I can't hide it forever.
Yeah.
And if someone outs me one day, no big deal either. So, but like I don't find it as like a point of interest for me.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of like it's sitting in the distance, but it's not really it's not really something that I'm pursuing at the moment.
Yeah. And like you said, it's great because it keeps people in suspense, and suspense is drives stuff like that, and I think that's cool, and but at the same time, like you're super talented too, and so a lot of people. And I know you're known on the other side of the things, but even people, I had like some of the 2020 project artists, said, hey, I worked for an agency, and they put their name on it, and it wasn't my name, but I was doing the work. I want to get credit. I created this. Yeah, I worked for the agency, and that's why he left. Because he felt like his work wasn't being recognized for him doing it. It was just working under someone. So, but again, like you said, you do commission stuff. You're on that side where someone knows, who you are and that sort of thing. And like you said, when the time comes and you feel it's right, I guess that's when everyone else will find out as well.
There was a situation where I have on my page set up the Pete Alonso. It's a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
So the video is basically me burying a Pete Alonso rookie somewhere in Brooklyn. And people have gotten really, really close to where they're actually at the site. So I've gone and met these people. So like they don't know who it is, and I'm just walking up to them randomly. And I'm like, I'm the guy who kind of set this up. And we sat and talked for a while, and really cool guys. And like 10 minutes into it, they're like, oh, you're just a regular guy. I was like, yeah.
What did they expect?
I'm not like a serial killer or anything, it's just how I'm dealing with this.
That's funny. I don't know what they expect, you have like 3 eyes and, 3 arms or, just, Yeah, you're human. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, I was expecting some psychotic, And I'm like, nah.
And then again, is that what you want? Where you want someone psychotic? I mean, sorry to disappoint.
Exactly right.
Sorry to disappoint you. I'm a regular guy, So, but if you stand out here long enough, you will run into someone. It's Brooklyn, So, but I love my hometown. Just a little Brooklyn humor there, but So, but yeah, incredible stuff, man. And I, anyone listening to this that hasn't seen what Card Killer's been doing and done, I can't stress enough. And if you start from the beginning, go to the end. Like I said, even during this interview, initially I was sort of. Rubbed the wrong way. I wasn't. I just thought it was sort of for attention, and then I hung on. I gave Card Killer the benefit of the doubt. I'm glad I did, because here we are on the show. I wouldn't have him on if I didn't believe in what he's doing. He's talented, and so that's what I would stress to anyone listening that doesn't know of you at this point. Check the stuff out. See the full body of work. It's the old cliche saying, "Don't judge the book by the cover." The beginning, sort of the cover. Read the book. Read the whole book. Check out the whole thing. And I think, like myself, you'll come around and see what's really going on. And what's really going on is good things, super talented work, philanthropic benefits, and keep doing what you're doing. It's great to see. As someone who says the cards are art, the cards are art. I mean, you're in the hobby doing artistic things. And so, number one, Card Killer, thank you for coming on and sharing some of that insight and stuff, and filling in some of those blanks. As always, I give the guests the last word here. Anywhere people can see, I'm telling people to see your stuff. Give out all that information where they can find all that material in your work.
Well, pretty much everything is run on Instagram.
Yeah.
I do have cardkiller.com, but right now that's just bare bones.
Yeah.
I wanted to secure the URL so that I had it.
Yeah.
There's nothing for sale on it yet, basically because I can't really keep anything in stock, and my commissions go out. So once I get a grip on having some personal items up there and everything, it'll be revamped. But all my information is run through Instagram. So if you wanted to get in touch with me, I look at my DMs all the time. And that's about it. I mean, I'm on Twitter too, but just to kind of look.
Give out your Instagram handle, just so.
That is at Card Killer.
At Card Killer. I'll put it, folks. I'll put it in the show notes as well. So if you can't think fast enough, it'll be out in the show notes as well for you. And
Card Killer with a K. Some people.
Yes. Yep. Card Killer, KARDKILLER. And there you go. Again, great stuff. Thank you for making time for the show. Again, folks, check his stuff out. And a lesson learned here for me is look at everything before passing judgment. Sometimes, and this is not just in the hobby. I think sometimes even in society, we just rush to judgment, and it doesn't always work out. And so I'm glad I did it. And like I said, I even told my son the same thing, and he did a 180. And check out what he's doing. Incredibly talented musician as well. So his talent crosses into those lines as well. Card Killer, I know you're in my home area, New York City. Stay safe. Be well. Thanks for coming on.
You too, John. I had a blast. Thanks for having me.
I had one too. You're welcome.
Sports Card Nation Podcast is your weekly hobby and sports podcast. Now on tons of platforms including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. Listened to in 44 different countries globally, Sports Card Nation is one of the most interactive podcasts around, providing great content, giveaways, and some of the hobby's best interview guests without time constraints. Thousands can't be wrong. We want to thank all the wonderful listeners around the world, our awesome guests on the show, and our tremendous sponsors making us what we are today. Remember, without you, there's no us.
As always, time to give away this week's $25 free break credit to One of One Card Shop. Thank you to them for allowing us to do this each and every week. And I use Retweet Pick. It's an app. I paid the lifetime fee of $10. It takes all the retweets that are entered into the contest and just randomly picks one for me, believe it or not. And the winner this week is someone I know quite well, to be fully transparent, but his retweet got picked and he's the winner. And so I'll tell you who it is. It's Beans Ballpark Blog, or as most know him, Kinsley. You have won the $25 break credit. Congratulations, buddy. What rhymes with Kin? Win. And that's what you just did, Ken. Congratulations. Well, it's time to turn off the lights and lock the doors on episode 91 of the Sports Card Nation. Let's start off with thanking our guest, Card Killer. Again, folks, check his stuff out. He's heavy on Instagram. That's his home base. Check out what he's done, start to finish, or whatever. And doing incredible stuff. Really smart, intelligent guy. And he's from Brooklyn, so extra points for that. But, he's doing some crazy stuff, but great stuff as well. And happy that he made some time for his favorite show, he tells me. So thank you, Card Killer. I didn't release his real identity because I had to sign a waiver where if I did, he would get my Jackie Robinson 1-on-1, and I don't want to give that up. So, but no, I'm just kidding. But check him out. I mean, when you think about art this year in 2020, I mean, art's always been big and important, but 2020 really blew it up, and it's really taken the forefront, and a huge year for the art world, and now it's gotten into the card world in a big way, and that's a good thing regardless of what you think. That's a positive, and so good to see. And we don't get political on the show. Not that we don't have feelings or personal beliefs or morals and all that. This isn't really the place to discuss that. There's plenty of political shows and news shows and whatnot. The only thing I want to say, and I'll just keep it sort of generic, is, be good to one another, do the right thing, treat everybody with love and kindness if you can, and, it just goes a long way. Be generous. And there's two quotes with generosity that are my personal favorites. One's by Winston Churchill, who once said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." And the other one's uncredited, but you don't have to be rich to be generous. Small things, your time, an act, a note, little things like that. I know I've said it before on this show, can go a long way. So be good to others. That stuff's contagious. Or at least I hope it is. I believe it is. And the world needs a little bit more of that, quite frankly. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up. The next couple weeks, I'm not sure what order. We've got two great guests on. We got Ken Golden from Golden's Auctions, and we've got Peter Steinberg from SGC Grading. So, again, I'm not sure the order, but those should be the next two guests on the next 2 weeks. So, stay tuned, and we got many more coming your way on Sports Card Nation Podcast. Be well, stay safe. We'll see you in a week.